Hi, this is George Alger, and welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today's guest expert is Sarah Kahn, who is an inspirational and interfaith speaker. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, George. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we could do a whole show just on your talking, but today we have an interesting topic about your contributions to a book called Sexy with No Boundaries as a Muslim Woman, all right? So first of all, let's find out, how is it that you became a contributor to this book?
That's an interesting question, George. You know, the main author of this book is Heidi Lee, and she's actually an internationally acclaimed fashion designer. And I am a former fashion designer as well. So we met each other through this public speaking forum, and we instantly developed a fondness for each other. You know, we'd always admire each other's sense of style. So George, 2 years ago, when she approached me for this book, she was working on this book, and she asked me to contribute a chapter to it. Basically, she said, you know, Sarah, I'm doing this book, and it's called Sexy with No Boundaries, and I'd like you to write a chapter for it. And I was like, sexy with no boundaries? You know, I mean, Heidi, I said, Heidi, I'm a Muslim woman who covers herself from, you know, head to toe. I don't have any stories of being sexy with no boundaries. And so then what she did was she explained the essence of this book to me. And basically what she does in this book, George, is she talks about how we should let go of the old school definition of sexy, you know, the perfect Barbie doll figure or being provocative. And she says that we should all embrace what she calls sexy in the new millennium, you know, which means aligning your physical beauty with your inner qualities.
Nice message.
Yeah, and then she also says that sexy should have no boundaries, as the title is, which means that sexy should be colorblind, it should be age blind, it should be gender blind, it should be size blind. So when she told me all of that, I was really impressed. I thought, okay, that is a nice book, you know. I think I could contribute something to that book. And then she says to me, you know, Sarah, I want you as a Muslim woman to be able to define sexy for yourself. You know, what does it mean for you to be sexy as a Muslim hijabi woman?
Well, that's a perfect segue into an answer to the question, how do you define that?
So how do I define sexy? Well, George, I believe that what could be sexier than being true to who you are, isn't it? So for someone like me, you know, a devout Muslim woman who covers herself from head to toe, who wears a headscarf, you know, and in adherence to my faith, I believe that modesty is sexy because that is true to who I am. You know, in fact, George, since you mentioned, I go around as an interfaith speaker and an inspirational speaker, and I often speak about modesty and speak about feminism in Islam. And whenever I speak of modesty, there is this beautiful quote that I always like to share with my audience. It's by Jamie Hay, and she says that modesty isn't about hiding your body, it's about revealing your dignity. So, you know, it's interesting because I personally believe that it's true. You know, in our society, modesty can be perceived as just hiding your body. You know, I mean, there's this perception that modesty is something that is primitive, you know, or it's regressive. Sometimes people even think that they equate it with body shaming. And, you know, I think that's because of the hypersexualization of our society, George.
Well, that is common in our world. Hence, I'm wondering, though, because there's going to be a perception that exists in the world just based somewhat on the title.
Right.
Hence, is there any challenges you've had as a Muslim contributing to this book?
You know, George, as far as challenges, my biggest challenge was trying to redefine sexy. You know, trying to say that we don't have to adhere to society's conceptualization of sexy. We can all define sexy for ourselves. And like I said, being true to who I am, being modest, is sexy to me. So my biggest challenge was actually trying to promote modesty, because the thing is, if you think about it, because of our media, we have a completely different definition of sexy. Or even if you were to Google it, George. I mean, if you Google sexy, it means sexually attractive, provocative, alluring. So basically, I believe that, because of our capitalism and consumerist culture, that has led to the commodification of a woman's body. I feel that a woman's value or her worth has actually been reduced to her sexual appeal. So personally, I felt that what could be more empowering, than choosing to conceal rather than reveal, or the way sexy is portrayed in the media. What could be more powerful than choosing modesty over nudity? Because if you see the magazines, George, if we look at commercials, we look at music videos, what does it take to sell a product? What does it take to sell a garment or a pack of cigarettes, right?
Well, you have touched on an important point, because certainly there is there's plenty of women who do believe that they're being objectified or commoditized is not a good thing. So I'm wondering, since you are out in the world speaking to such diverse groups, what has been the reception to the message you've just conveyed, and even your definition of sexy?
Well, one of the challenges I always face, George, whether I'm trying to promote, my contribution to the book or speak as a Muslim feminist, is that as a Muslim woman who covers herself from head to toe, often I'm perceived as being oppressed by the men in my family or being sexually repressed. And the funny thing is, I actually have many stories about that, George. One of them is at one time I was giving a speech, and I walked off the stage, and one of the audience members approached me, and he said to me, "I just kept looking at you, and I wanted so bad to pull that cloth out of your head. I just don't understand, why do you let yourself be tortured like this? So why do you let yourself be tortured? Why do you allow yourself to be tortured like this?" And not just that, George, there have been many times when people have asked me, as a public speaker, when I go up and speak, afterwards in the audience, people ask me, does your husband make you wear this, cover up like this? Or do the men in your family, does your dad make you cover up like that? So sometimes it is hard for people to comprehend or to just fathom that somebody would want to do something like that by choice. And the reason I do it by choice is because I would want people to value me, to see me and value me based on my intellect, based on my personality, based on who I am as an individual and everything that makes me me, rather than simply my physical appearance.
Of course, I think that's what all humans want.
Right.
So let me ask you this, though, because, of course, there's going to be people in any culture who, seeing something new, aren't going to fully understand it.
Right.
That's common across the world.
Right.
On the other hand, your message of modesty, though, I was thinking, might find an appreciation amongst a number of people. Is that not the case?
That's true. That's definitely true. I mean, there's always people who wouldn't agree with it. There's people who are open to that different point of view and are respectful towards it. And then there's always people who completely agree, who too believe that modesty can be an empowering tool, it can be a feminist tool, modesty can be sexy. So I've always had all kinds of people, basically.
Yeah, so now I want to ask you, just from your experience, what kind of feedback have you gotten from, let's say, younger women? Are they more receptive to this or less receptive to this? What kind of feedback have you been getting?
Actually, all kinds. Mostly people are more receptive to what I have to say, George, because it's not that as myself, as a Muslim woman, I believe modesty is sexy, but it does not mean that I negate the perspectives of other people. So what I'm trying to say is, if you are true to who you are, if you are confident and if you are comfortable just the way you are, then you can define sexy for yourself. If sexy to you means being physically attractive, to me it could mean being intellectually attractive, but that does not mean that your definition of sexy is not, it is wrong. It only means that it is a different perspective. You have your own unique perspective, your own unique definition of sexy. So basically, people are very receptive because all I try to tell people is that we don't have to conform to societies or Western or Eastern or any conceptualization of sexy. We can have our own definition, based on what we feel is comfortable for us. How we want to represent whatever it is, whether it's sexy, whether it's feminism, or what have you.
Well said. All right, so we're just about out of time here. I wonder if there's a website that people could go to for more information, and if there's a summating message you'd like to convey to the viewers.
For me, they can always look me up on Facebook. I'm extremely active on Facebook, and it's Sara Khan by my name, or K Sara. That's my business name. And as far as my last message is basically the same thing, as like Heidi says in this book too, sexy has no boundaries. It does not have to have any boundaries. You can define it for yourself. And just being true to who you are, being confident the way you are, will make you sexy.
Wonderful message. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, George.
This is George Alger signing off for this segment of our Ventura TV. Until we meet again.